Hello, I'm Tom Wilkinson, and welcome back to another episode of the Thinking in English Grammar Podcast, a podcast for intermediate to advanced level learners of English. I have now lived in the Japanese countryside for over a year. I have experienced many interesting situations. I have discovered new interests and hobbies. I have faced significant challenges. And I have learned a lot about myself. In order to talk about my past year in Japan and similar topics about events in the past which influence the present, we need to understand and know how to use the present perfect grammar. So today, let's practice the present perfect grammar and learn about my past year in Japan at the same time. You can find a full and free transcript for this episode on my website, the link's in the description, or on Spotify or Apple. Here is today's grammar lesson. Just before the grammar lesson, I need to remind you all that I have created a study pack for this episode. The study pack includes a transcript, vocabulary lists, links to ad-free audio and interactive transcripts, and most importantly, grammar exercises to get you using the present perfect grammar. The Perfect Grammar Study Pack also includes the episodes on the past perfect and an exclusive Patreon and study pack only future perfect episode. You can find it in the link in the description of this episode or on my Patreon store. Now let's get back into the episode. The present perfect is a verb tense used to talk about actions or events that happened at an unspecified time in the past, but their effects are still felt in the present. The present perfect is often used when we're talking about something that occurred at some point before now, but we don't specify exactly when it happened. For example, if someone says, "I have visited Paris," it means they visited Paris at some point in their life, but they're not saying when exactly. Even though the action or event happened in the past, it has some relevance or connection to the present moment. This could mean that the action has an ongoing result, impact, or significance right now. For instance, if someone says, "I have eaten lunch already," it implies that the action of eating lunch has an effect on their current state. Maybe they're not hungry anymore. Here is how to form the present perfect. Subject, so I or she or you, plus have or has, plus past participle. Eaten, read, been. For example, I have read Harry Potter. It's formed by using the auxiliary verb have or has for third-person singular subjects like she or he, followed by the past participle of the main verb. Here are some more examples. I have eaten lunch already. This means that at some point before now I ate lunch, but it doesn't specify exactly when. The effect of having eaten lunch, so not being hungry anymore, is still felt in the present. She has lived in London for 5 years. This means that she started living in London 5 years ago and she still lives there now. The action of living in London started in the past and continues up to the present. They have finished their homework. This means that they completed their homework at some point before now. The action of finishing their homework is relevant to the present situation, possibly indicating they are now free to do something else. So remember, the present perfect tense is used to talk about past actions or experiences with a connection to the present. It's often used with time expressions like already, yet, for, and since. The specific time of the action is not important or not mentioned. It's also important to distinguish between the present perfect and the simple past tense. while the simple past tense talks about completed actions at a specific time in the past, the present perfect emphasizes the connection to the present moment. I have lived in the Japanese countryside for over a year. Today, I want to tell you all about some of the experiences I have had and challenges I've faced while living here. This is not the first time I have lived in the Japanese countryside. I moved to Shikoku in the south of Japan about 8 years ago and lived there for 2 years. After moving back and forth between Japan and the UK, I have now lived in Japan's Fukushima prefecture for over a year. During this time, I have immersed myself, or tried to immerse myself, in the local culture, embraced new challenges, and created some lasting memories. One of the highlights of my time here so far has been exploring the charming cafes scattered throughout the countryside. I have spent hours reading books, studying Japanese, or just daydreaming while drinking delicious coffee at these cafes. I have actually rediscovered my love for coffee. Coming from England, our coffee culture is quite different to that of Japan's. Every time I have lived in Japan, I have become more obsessed and interested in the process behind making the perfect cup of coffee. My wife has also learned to enjoy coffee, thanks to me, I guess. Each cafe here has its unique identity. Some are stylish and modern, some are traditional and full of wooden furniture, some are tiny with just one employee, some make delicious food as well as coffee. I have also eaten a lot of the local specialty food, tonkatsu. Tonkatsu is fried pork cutlets, and they serve them here with lots of delicious sauce and on top of fluffy rice. I have probably tried 7 or 8 different tonkatsu restaurants, but my goal is to try even more next year. Fukushima is further north in Japan than I have lived before, which means for the first time I have fully experienced Japan's seasons. I have survived the extremes of weather, dealing with the hot and humid summers and cold and snowy winters. I have had to buy a thick winter coat to deal with that incredibly snowy winter, and I have also bought quite a few Hawaiian shirts for the 40-degree summers. I have also tried to integrate into the local community in various different ways. For example, I have taken Japanese classes and participated in various learning experiences. Twice a month, I attend conversation groups, and for 20 weeks a year, I attend a local community Japanese class. I trained to be a tour guide and learned about the rich history of the region. Guiding visitors through historical sites and sharing stories has been a rewarding way to contribute to the local tourism industry. I have also had the privilege of witnessing numerous local festivals, each giving me a different perspective into Japanese society. Settling into my apartment and furnishing it has also been a big part of my year. Creating a comfortable space to call home has given me stability for the first time in years. I have finally found somewhere I'm prepared to stay for longer than a year. Furthermore, I have managed to move my work and thinking in English from the UK to Japan. Setting up bank accounts and navigating the administrative processes has been challenging, but I'm nearly finished. Overall, living in the Japanese countryside has been a fulfilling and transformative experience. The past year has been filled with adventures, learning opportunities, and moments of growth. So here is today's final thought. Today I've introduced you all to the present perfect grammar. We use this grammar to talk about actions or events that happened at an unspecified time in the past, but their effects are still felt in the present. After explaining how to make and use the present perfect, I tried to demonstrate this grammar by talking about some of the experiences I have had living in Japan over the past year. Now you have listened to this episode and grammar lesson, let's practice your English. What places have you visited recently? Have you ever tried a new hobby or activity? If so, what was it? How long have you known your best friend? Try to answer one or all of these questions in the comment section of this episode using the present perfect grammar. You can leave a comment on the blog, so on my transcript I make, the link's in the description, or on Spotify. Also, if you want to take your studying further and go more in depth into this grammar point, buy my study pack. The study pack includes extra study exercises to help get you practicing. You can access it by becoming a Patreon subscriber, where you can get all the study packs for free, or you can buy it and not become a Patreon subscriber. The link is in the description of this episode. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.